Is there a difference in your eyes between an influencer and a content creator?
I think there's three pillars. I think there's a content creator, there is a public figure, and then there's an influencer. I think that becomes important. Understanding what your agents are doing, where you are in the conversation in terms of your plan. A lot of people are signed to agents and they think sometimes, oh, I must go meet with my agent for A, B, and C. But an agent is not a manager. Content creators, they're very specific. They constantly are planning, what am I posting that aligns to A, B, and C. They live for it. In the same way where you live for going for your acting auditions on a week-to-week basis, content for them is that. People just want to get signed sometimes. That when you get signed, now that you're signed, you're waiting on the agency to do the work. But it's a partnership. It takes you showing up to auditions on a day that's 4 degrees. I can't force you. I might have sent you the brief. But if there's certain days where you don't feel like auditioning or don't feel like showing up, that you don't show up, that's also a sacrifice you're making on your career.
Hello, and welcome to yet another episode of Seen and Heard, a platform that makes you feel seen and heard. Thulani, and I'm with the co-host,
Ndzotyana.
Today, we aren't alone. We are with a boss babe, as they refer to her, at Talent ETC, which she's also the CEO and founder of Stride Institute. She is the pageant queen, amongst many other things, and her name is Thulani Ndzotyana. Hi, man.
What's good?
Hello. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. How are you guys doing? I'm loving this combo of co-hosts, by the way.
Really?
Why,
Yes.
Thank you.
Definitely. But let's start off with a fun little icebreaker.
Yes.
Okay.
It's a quiz, film-based quiz on movies. No, come on, Thulani, don't do that.
I know I should know movies, but I'm just throwing it out there. Like,
That's fine.
Right?
I'll ask you 3.
okay.
Only 3 questions.
Whew.
If you want another one, I have a spare one. as
My
well.
goal is to get one right.
It's perfect.
That's a perfect goal.
What is the name of the female ogre voiced by Cameron Diaz in Shrek? I'll give you options.
Fiona.
Okay, we got
Okay.
Fiona. We got
You reached
Fiona.
your goal. You reached your goal.
All right. What is the name of the princess in Disney's Aladdin? We've got...
Jasmine.
That's correct.
I didn't know.
Yeah, me neither. I would have not.
No.
Final question. Taylor Lautner plays which role in the Twilight movies?
He is, don't tell me, because he's my favorite. He's the wolf, but I want to know his name, Jacob.
Yes, you got 3 out of 3. You got 3 out
You
of
have
3.
to pretend you're aiming low.
Yeah. Fantastic. That was brilliant.
When you asked that question, like there was just scenes of Bella just calling him out, Jacob!
Really? Oh my days.
Fair. And now that we've said it, TikTok algorithm is probably going to start showing us
Right?
Oh,
those scenes. Yeah.
not me
It's
though.
quite scary, actually.
Yeah, no.
But weren't you binging Twilight?
Yes,
the other
I
day?
watched a few movies every 3 months
Oh.
because it just calms me. I know the outcome. I like the storyline.
Oh, you don't like new movies?
I don't.
No, that's
I'll be honest. Thing is, I have to be in the
Found my soulmate.
mental headspace for it.
Right.
I've probably watched Bridgerton 30 times, if not more. All of them combined.
Wow.
I know.
What do you think it is? Because I think I found my soulmate.
Someone said it's a
What?
mental coping mechanism because we can predict the outcome of what we're watching.
Yeah.
So it's like you feel safe when you rewatch it. It's a safe space. Whereas with something new, unless you're going to go look for spoilers, you don't know what's going to happen. So it takes your emotions on too many roller coasters.
True.
So that's what we like, Dimple.
I say this because I'm the same.
No.
Literally. Like,
You
I
have to
can't, even
venture
with
out.
music.
Yeah, no.
Beyonce
every day.
Yes.
No, guys,
Because I'm
guys.
like, I know like where the note is gonna
Fair.
go. You know what I mean?
Okay,
Like,
but then when she came out with was it
Cowboy
Cowboy
Carter.
Carter? Did you not
Even-
listen to it?
No.
We did.
Exactly.
But it's Beyonce.
So
We
that
feel
doesn't make
safe.
any sense. What if it's a
Yes.
director that you know you're gonna like this movie? Like Oppenheimer with Christopher Nolan. Did you guys not watch Oppenheimer? Maybe Barbie?
I saw it won a lot of awards. Barbie I watched.
Yeah.
But Barbie,
Greta
we
Gerwig.
know
You
the
know
story.
it.
It's not going to be that
You
different.
know it.
I can't win.
But
can't win.
I'm so the same. Like, I will rewatch. There's a particular movie.
Which one is it for you?
All movies. To All the Boys I've Loved Before. I watch it all the time.
The first one is my favorite.
Yes.
But I don't mind the third one.
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
I don't even know it. I don't even know it.
I mean, so it is to all the boys.
I've loved. So beautiful.
I mean, I watched Barbie, I guess. So
okay, Ken.
Okay, Ken. Yes,
I was put on as one of the Kens on Talent ETC's page.
Fair.
you were.
I was one
On
of the
Ken
Kens.
Day.
I was one of the Kens, so I'll take that.
But yeah, thank you for joining us.
No, thank you for having me. This is so fun.
So, Miss Ma'am, I want to ask you, as a Beyonce fan, what is your inspiration in life?
My inspiration in life
Thank
is to
you.
be happy.
What is that? I don't get the
I said it
reference.
perfectly.
I don't get the reference. I'm not gonna.
It's every pageant girl's dream song. Let's be honest. It's called Pretty Hurts. Beautiful video.
I'm just not. I'm not gonna get it. I'll probably have to listen to it.
After this, we'll plug you.
Yeah, after this, we'll actually play
Yeah.
Pretty Hurts.
All right.
But yeah, I asked this because on your Facebook, it says...
Which hasn't been updated in like years. Now I'm like, what did you find? You know, Facebook is the forgotten child.
It is.
It really is.
It is. And I'm asking this because on your bio, it's so interesting. It says 2044 President of the Republic of South Africa.
Of Salma.
Yeah.
Even the wording I found so interesting. I'm like, yo, the Republic.
Yeah.
Oh, Jay.
That's our official
It's
name. I
us,
think.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
RSA.
Yeah. So is that part of your true aspirations?
Sheesh, I think it's such a difficult question to answer as you go through life and when I look at all the different things I'm doing. But I'm always true to my childhood dream. And I feel like that was young Thulani, who wasn't immersed in politics, but from the time she could figure out what she wanted to do, which was probably like grade 1 or 2, was saying, I'm going to be South African president. So for me, I like to think of 2044 as a train in motion in terms of the change I'm going to play in the spaces I currently occupy. Like that's my big goal. But I always say there's power to it. And there's a reason I've spent most of my youthful years saying I was going to be president in 2044. So I would never speak against it. I think the universe will decide. But I know that my day-to-day is to just be that train in motion.
But growing up, where did you grow up?
I grew up in New Brighton, in Gqeberha, which is in the Eastern Cape.
That's where I'm from as well. That's where
He went to my rivalry school.
No, yes, but
We beat them in everything.
No,
I'm
no, no,
kidding.
no. I was gonna say that we beat you and everything. Hey, you guys know, you know.
The
Alex,
Alexans,
VP, if you know, you
the
know.
Alexans know that now you can maybe beat us, but like when we were there, it was like,
No.
I mean,
So let's say Thulani from Gqeberha,
Yes.
young Thulani. What advice would you have given her, now knowing what you know right now, starting up, opening a pageantry, CEO? What advice would you give her just in terms of going into that industry, starting up?
sheesh, that's actually an interesting question. I think it's finding spaces in smaller cities to get involved in the things that you like.
Right.
So, for instance, Port Elizabeth doesn't have a modeling market or
Yeah.
an acting market.
Yeah.
Well, we had the show Gqeberha shoot there, but prior to that, there wasn't a lot happening in Gqeberha. And I think for me, like joining a modeling school, which was all about confidence and was teaching you about international models and the standards overseas, even though it didn't feel practical because we didn't get to experience those auditions or do those things, it kept the spark and fire in me until I was old enough to be in that industry. So the first point of contact I would give people is to look at what's happening locally and find whether it's a training school or an agency that can just keep that fire in you, because if you think you want to model and then you forget about it for 7 years and maybe you're only focused on school,
Right.
chances are when you matriculate or doing something different, you're not going to think of it because it's not being groomed in you or it's not something that's constantly at the back of your mind.
Right.
So I challenge people to just find something in that small town and do it.
So you mentioned, wanting to... It's sort of like a social activist that you kind of mentioned, in your aspiration towards presidency, you know. Is that why you entered Miss South Africa?
Sheesh. Absolutely. I think Miss South Africa, for many women in South Africa, is one of the most empowering platforms that women can aspire towards, where you actually see the change in someone's life. Like, you watch them go from finalist to reigning queen. And then when you're able to watch the things and the impact they're able to make within their year of reign and even after they've won, it is one of those things that's unmissable and you can't ignore. So for me, I think I've always found my voice and confidence through pageantry. I think at its core, that's what it's meant to teach people. But more than anything, I've also wanted to serve South Africans since I was very young. I've always just wanted to play my own part in whatever change and whatever it looked like. And I think entering with South Africa, I knew could definitely give me that opportunity. So that's one of the reasons I entered.
Right. So let's say, because I've always wanted to get into modeling, right? But then there's like a surprisingly lot of steps you have to take. So I didn't know that you needed a modeling coach or model coach before you can go into like maybe a model agency, right? So like for someone trying to get new into modeling, what are the advice steps you need to take? Do you just rather go to a modeling coach and then maybe go to like a modeling gig? Or do you advise rather go to a modeling coach, modeling agency, and then let them help you book the gigs?
It's tricky because, firstly, I always say to people, the journey is different for everyone.
Right.
You know, you can have a model who just looks the part, is the height, has the features, and then from the time they're walking on the street, someone can scout them and they can book campaigns and be on billboards, right? And then you have people who want to model who don't necessarily have the tools or know much about the industry. So I found that every person's journey is different. It's like people who study acting versus people who just have always performed all of their lives and didn't necessarily study it, maybe did it through church and school plays, and then now they're on our screens. So I always think that process is different for everyone. And for me, I think the coaching element becomes important. And why I started becoming a coach is when I moved to Johannesburg, I only had information from Google. So I joined a few agencies that weren't actually modeling agencies, that were extra agencies, but posed as modeling agencies. I paid fees, I did photo shoots, I did all these things. And I only learned through going to castings and through a vigorous process of eventually ending up with the right agencies, how it worked. Now, fortunately, I was never harmed. I think I was only financially harmed because obviously when you're investing in a photo shoot and all these different things and you're thinking your agent is like a manager or booker, and they're not even that. They're selling you the impression of that. I then realized along the way when I was coaching girls, or when people would then DM me and be like, you were Miss Sundowns and now you're signed, we've seen you doing modeling. And at first you have to explain that pageantry and modeling are not the same thing.
Right.
So this is the commercial modeling agency I'm currently signed to. This is what it means to be a commercial model in South Africa. This is how pageants tend to work. And then I realized that I'm actually passionate about teaching people that information. And that's how my company Stride was then birthed. So I always feel like the journey is going to be different for everyone. You can get a modeling coach who can help you become more confident, how to audition, do those intro slates, deliver those non-existing performances that you sometimes have to do in a commercial casting where you're pretending to eat something and you're not really. I mean, those moments can be awkward if you're not someone who's used to getting out of your comfort zone and having that training. But for other people, it comes naturally. It's like runway modeling. I have girls who've never walked in heels, and you put them in heels and you do 1 or 2 sessions and they can book an SA Fashion Week. And then you have someone where the coaching needs to be a little bit of longer, like a couple of months getting them into heels. So you can't say yay or nay. I think you need to do a self-introspection. But the one thing I'll say for myself in everything I do, I always want training. So even though I'm a coach, I do look at other coaches and I do go and enroll and try get them to coach me because I feel like you can never stop learning. So that's always been my approach to the industry.
Okay. So then in Stride, by the way, guys, I was the model that she was talking about.
No. It came naturally for you, so you were that model, right? You were that Stride.
But when it comes to Stride, what what other things can you offer in Stride besides the pageantry coaching? You know what I mean? Because I'm hearing you speak about the fact that you love to teach this information. So is that what we can find then in Stride?
Yes. So Stride has 4 pillars. My main pillar is confidence teaching and building, because I believe when you're confident, you can do anything. And it's interesting because many of my striders start off coming to me for pageantry. Then we work on their brand and their social media. And some of them are in tech or STEM. And it's quite interesting seeing how they've applied their brand approach in those spaces. So confidence building is number 1. And then public speaking, coaching is what I do. And then there's the model training, which is helping you either become a runway model, print model, or commercial model. And then there is the pageantry. So those are the pillars. I don't only train people who are doing pageants. I also have a lot of people who sometimes come to me to prep for interviews or who just really want to be more confident.
Right.
I've had a lady come to me because she just wanted to learn how to walk in heels. It wasn't for a pageant, but she just didn't feel confident. And I'm like, that is so true. Like, this is something I informally do with some of my friends where they'll be like, no one actually ever taught me how to walk in heels. Am I doing it right?
Wow.
And then we find something that's comfortable for them, but that's not necessarily runway.
Yeah.
So people come to me for various reasons, but I think the core pillar of Stride is confidence training. I also am definitely an anti-bullying activist because a lot of my young striders get bullied, which is very sad. And I found that I play the role of the bigger sister because I'm not necessarily their age, but like maybe I'm slightly younger than their parents. So they find that over the sessions, they vent to me and I'm able to then play that bridge between the parents, reporting to the school and just ensuring that as we're building this confidence, they're not going out there for it to be broken again. So I found a lot of that as well, where I'm doing a lot of the mental coaching and I lean into a friend of mine who's a psychologist because it's one of those things that I didn't prep for when I started doing this coaching, but I realized that bullying in schools is so rife and it affects the confidence of many young people.
Right. But when it comes to now with the pageants and the pageantry, you mentioned that you help younger children with their modeling and maybe adults as well. And then you also mentioned that you try to help them with their mental health, maybe with bullying, and if they're not feeling confident enough. Would you say that approach when it comes to helping them is different with different age groups?
Absolutely.
I mean, the application has to be different, right? Yeah.
Yeah. So even just thinking of it, like I have a young strider who's about 6.
Wow.
Even just how I approach our session, and it's online coaching, right? So she's looking at me from a screen. Even just how I approached those sessions and how we speak about certain things is so different to how I'm handling my 17-year-old strider who maybe has been doing pageants for 5 years and is a bit of a teen and feels like a young adult.
Yeah.
So the approach is different. And I also love the fact that I do mostly one-on-one coaching because it allows me to get to know people's personalities and to see what works for them and what won't.
Yeah.
So when do you do then group coaching if you mostly do one-on-one?
I do group coaching like maybe every 3 months. I have a thing for public holidays. So my big thing growing up, I always felt like we don't celebrate them enough. And I know that it feels like we're rehashing the struggle and what happened in South Africa. That's how people see it.
Yeah.
But I also think it's so important because hectic things did happen in a lot of our public holidays. With June 16, like we're in the month of June 16 at the moment. We know what happened to young people. So I don't think it should just be another day. So you'll find that a lot of my workshops tend to happen over Heritage Day or June 16 or like Freedom Day. And I like try add a meaning that makes us celebrate where our country used to be versus where we're all trying to go, but in the space of modeling or public speaking or confidence building.
True patriotism.
So that's when I would do the workshops.
That is true patriotism. But let's go to maybe your agent hat. Let's talk about your agent hat. So when it comes to being an agent, you obviously have to work with your clients, I would say your talent, right? What is it like when you have to send out a brief to a client or to a talent? Do you look at what the brief says and what they want and then you send it out randomly, or do you dedicate that to specific talents or specific actors based on the brief?
Okay. So for people who don't know, I am an agent at Talent ETC. I've been one now for 5 years. Prior to that, I was working as a model booker. So there's a lot of things that I've learned in the behind the scenes of what it takes, before an artist or a model ends up with a brief in front of them.
Yeah.
So to answer your question, a lot of the time work is briefed out, right? Meaning different commercial agencies or PR agencies from a social and influencer market or acting casting directors, would have a project that they're sitting with, and then they would send the brief. And two things can happen. It can be an open casting,
Right.
meaning if you fit the age or demographic, it's sent to you if you're on whatever agency's books, right? Or it is a closed casting where we have to support it by sending in your profile, your CV. Then the casting director has a look at everyone's like books in terms of all the agencies they've sent it out to, and then they would select, which is predominantly what happens in the agency I work for, because we deal with actors.
Yeah.
So it's not necessarily a lot of open castings. It's predominantly seasoned, trained actors that casting directors are trying to see for different roles that are then pitched in that element. So I explain that because I think sometimes people just think, oh, every time you see something, I should also be getting it. But a lot of the time your agents have gotten it, but you've potentially not been requested.
Okay. Yeah, because I have so many questions.
As actors, we're like, oh, so that's how it works.
No, it happens. It happens. No, it really does. And I think the nice thing about talent, obviously, who I work for, is that we're in South Africa. So we're in Cape Town, we're in KZN, we're in Joburg. And obviously, like when Kabeja was shooting in PE, we got that. So it's just one of those things that people sometimes forget, that it's also region-based within the industry. And it's also important, which I think is something we'll get into, that when you're talent, that you see yourself as South African based. That's something we've been saying since I've been working at Talent ETC, because people will tell you about season in Cape Town and actors will be like, why am I getting nothing? There are certain briefs that will brief to Joburg and Cape Town, but shoot in Cape Town.
Yeah.
But a lot of the time, the Cape Town work is going to brief to Cape Town agencies first, and then they'll bring in a couple of talent from Johannesburg.
Right.
But the main aim is to have cast that live in Cape Town, because that is a region that is booming within the industry. So that's something sometimes people don't realize.
So in talent, what are your... It seems like you have multiple roles in talent itself, outside of you having multiple roles outside of talent.
Yeah.
So can you take us into that? Like, what exactly do you do in talent?
So I am the HRD for the agency, which means I look after the general day-to-day of the agents, because I'm an agent.
There you go.
And then the divisions that I also look after are Cape Town and social. So yeah, because of my own personal work, which you've mentioned, I've always just been interested in what was happening with content creators. And I think I was part of the people in the industry who knew that content creators would have the impact they're now having and how they're competing with the commercial and ad industry. And I was very pro that, right? Because we see the power of just having genuine audiences connect to personalities.
Right.
So in that's where I manage social ETC. And then, yeah.
But what's it like? What's a normal day-to-day like for Thulani?
Yeah.
Wearing this many hats.
Sure. I think on most days, I like to think I have a 6-day week. So I try to rest on Sundays, but it doesn't always happen. But most of my days will start with me waking up in the morning, maybe 6:30, and then I will have a coffee and immediately I do my emails. I like to get to the office and even to my Stride messages before the chaos, which is by 9. I like to, by the time that I'm actually getting ready to leave the house, to feel like, okay, there's nothing I should be anxious about because I've looked over my mails. And then I'm either in office or out of office. I do try to be out of office quite a bit, because with influencer work and just sometimes meeting with casting directors and different people, we've lost the going to them. We've gotten so comfortable to being behind the laptop. And I also feel like sometimes those client relationships aren't managed by just, hello, how are you? Thank you, kind regards. It's good to just pop in and show face. So that's something that we try and do quite a bit. And then in between it as well, I'll be striding. So a lot of the time it's in the evenings or going into the evenings or midday. So my days are a bit crazy, but I think I've gotten used to it. It feels weird when I'm doing nothing.
Right. It probably does, yeah.
So, but do you rest is essential.
I do try rest on Sundays, like I said,
Yeah.
because that's like an important day for the Lord, that we try and go to church or at least be in praise and worship. I think it's very few times where if I have striders who are coming out of the province, who are coming to do like pageant training with me, and that's the only day they have that I'll do. But I give myself rest. Like this past long weekend, I did not work. I was like, unless it's urgent and it can't wait, that's when I'll look at it. But I rest. Rest is important.
Rest really
Yeah.
is important.
It's also good for our mental well-being.
But going back to what you mentioned on about life etc, I think you mentioned about content creators, right? So I've heard recently there's a difference between content creators and influencers. Right. So then would you manage influencers as well? Is there a difference in your eyes between an influencer and a content creator?
Yeah.
There's a difference.
Is it a big difference?
I don't like to get into the finickies because I feel like I don't want to offend anyone I'm representing.
Oh,
But-
no.
So I think there's three pillars. I think there's a content creator, there is a public figure, and then there's an influencer.
Okay, so now
So
there's more.
influencers, I believe, are personalities that we've gotten to know over social media.
Okay.
Right.
You know, whereas back in the day, if you wanted to know anyone, they had to be on radio or they had to be on TV, like the traditional media. And then that's who we knew to be famous. Whereas influencers, either through TikTok or a platform like Instagram, have built their own reputations for whatever they influence, whether it's lifestyle, whether it's a certain, code of living,
Right.
whether it's health or fitness.
Would Kim Kardashian be an influencer? Like, she's
She's
an
a
OG.
public figure because I feel like she started on traditional TV. But she was one of the first few people who cracked what it meant to use social media. I mean, the first platform the Kardashians owned
That's what I'm
was
saying.
X, which is now formerly known as Twitter.
Yeah.
Which is a tough one for you to have influence in,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
But that was the very first one. And then they jumped on Snapchat and Instagram as these social medias kept coming.
So she's a
So
public
I think
figure.
it's tricky because public figure, but creates content, but also is very influential. So you could almost say she's all three.
She's all
Yeah.
three. So I'd really want to crack this.
Fair.
So Mhlali, for example.
Ooh, let's not mention names.
Okay, because
Because maybe
Beat it
I'm
out,
going to
beat
say
it
they
out.
fall in this category and then someone takes offense to it.
Right.
Okay.
Let's maybe say a beauty makeup artist,
Right.
for example.
Yeah.
Is that what you're trying to say?
Okay, but they're multiple.
I see there.
But we
There's
didn't- we
some
didn't
that
get
are
to content creation.
influencers.
We didn't get to content creation.
Yeah.
You see,
Yes.
because, okay, so for me, I've explained the public figure, right?
Yes.
The influencer,
The influence, I've explained the
Yes.
age in which they fall under, I believe. And then
Right.
content creators for me are people who wake up and are very specific about what it is they're trying to do. So I have someone in mind, for example, where they do skits.
Okay.
And because their brand has grown in these types of skits they do, brands will come to them and they will create content that is based on that.
Around
So
the
I've seen it
product
for
maybe.
as well, where like maybe we do have influencers who dance, for example, but that doesn't make them content creators.
Right.
They're not necessarily the people who either lead certain social media challenges or are tasked by brands to dance
Yeah.
while promoting water.
I see
Whereas
it.
I've seen content creators who are dancers, but their content is always on dancing.
Yeah.
And even when brands come, they find a way to incorporate it into that. That's their content
I see
creation.
it. I see it.
They grow and
I
become
see
media
it.
personalities, or like you find them on Forbes or wherever. But their niche is the content creation they do for brands, but around this thing, whether it's skits,
Yeah.
whether it's them as a group. So I know it makes it tricky because it feels like it's all the same
The
thing.
same,
But
yeah.
you
I
could
understand
be
now.
someone who's influential. Maybe I trend because I say something problematic and I have 2 million followers. Does that make me a content creator?
Of course not.
Can't,
No.
right? It means I have influence, but also it would
Exactly.
depend on what I do next. Maybe it was just one viral moment. Whereas what I've found in the dedication of content creators is they're very specific. They constantly are planning, what am I posting that aligns to A, B, and C? They live for it. In the same way where you live for going for your acting auditions on a week-to-week basis, content for them is that. It's not a by the way, or I have the following
Yeah.
because I appeared on the show.
I get that.
I get
Okay,
it,
I
yeah.
think
I
you know
hope I've
what?
It makes more
explained it
sense now.
well.
It
because
makes more
it's
sense,
tricky.
yeah.
I don't want to be the spokesperson for it, but
I'm
I'm
gonna go-
trying.
No, you're
I'm gonna
good.
go
I've
to my
done my
faves.
best
You're
to
good.
try
You're good.
and
You're
explain
good.
I'm
it.
gonna go to my faves and be like, Where Nakiwana influencer.
No, I'm not. I'm a content creator.
No.
I'm
You're
just gonna
public
go to
figure.
there.
yeah.
Categorize people like content creator or public. But yeah, I really think I am gonna go like to people and just
And you
for
can
that to
ask people.
solidify.
There are people who are like, I'm a content
Yeah.
creator.
Yeah.
Because I've also seen it with media personalities where they struggle to create content. Just because they have a following doesn't
Right.
mean they understand their audience, their insights, and how to create content in a way that's
Okay.
organic. People have followed them because they loved them from the show or they were on radio or this, but it doesn't necessarily make them a content creator with that following.
Yeah.
So that's why I think people tend to separate it.
So they'd rather a brand is likely to approach them based on their influence.
There you go.
Yes. And find a way to communicate to their audience in a way that's organic and doesn't feel like, oh, now you're putting it on.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. You know what?
Thulani's spitting game.
I
yeah.
hope so.
But on the social media chat, right? I would say part of Stride, you know, right, is brand development.
Yes.
And I'm one of your striders, right? And hey, I'm one of your striders, and I remember in one of our sessions, you literally told me that what I say needs to reflect in my social media. So if I say that I am the CEO, founder, whatever, you don't see that on my social media. But then now we're living in a time and in an age where you would say, hey, social media is not real life. So how do those two then come together?
That is true.
I think social media to certain people can feel like it's not real because perhaps they're not themselves on social media. They have a different agenda.
Okay.
But we can't shy away from it being real life. Because, for instance, I have people who've never met me but will know what I'm about because of what I put out there.
Right.
So it's how you use it. So, for instance, if you look at my Stride page, I'm constantly sharing different stories and journeys of people who are entering different types of pageants training in different ways. So how I coach one person is different from another, but that's my reality. And then that's what I'm trying to get other people to see. But we do live in a time where people create reality. I mean, there's a lot of debate about reality TV and how much of it is scripted and unscripted, right? So it's how you choose to use it. The reason I encourage people to understand their brands is, for instance, if you're entering a Miss South Africa and you say that you are someone who, you know, wants to bring change in a revolutionary way in South Africa by A, B, and C. Not every person in South Africa is going to meet you to hear that. But if you are now an ambassador for a country, we should at least be able to see that in what you're doing. So how are you starting to play your part? And also, like I said, you're sometimes going to have influence on people you've never met. So what message are you trying to put out there about yourself? I think that's key. And it's going to be different for everyone.
Yeah. So it shouldn't be a situation where, like, if I say I love community engagement, it shouldn't be that you're having a conversation with me and then you get that. It should be that essentially that I should see that a person is what they say they are. Not to say that now we must just find this out only when we're having a conversation with you, but we should see this embedded in your social media. Am I understanding that
I think
correctly?
it depends on what you're trying to sell as a person. If you are someone, because there are people who are private and they're able to be in those spaces and have impact, can work with organizations, and they don't necessarily post that, but it's a part of who they are. And then I think for me, what I've learned in pageantry is that it is sometimes important for people to understand you and to get to know you. And that when you are crowned, for example, a Miss Mamelodi Sundowns, you might not get to meet every Sundown supporter or like people who affiliate with the brand, but they can follow your journey digitally.
Okay.
So I've found that I tend to advise people to understand what their brand is for them. So for instance, I've met people where their brand is work. It's their content creation. You're not necessarily getting to know their personal life or other things outside of the content they create. But they brand that strongly and it works and it serves the mandate of them being influencers or content creators. And then there are people who are trying to be invited to become MCs or to do different things within the industry, but they don't often get the exposure. And I found like there was a time in my life in 2018 when I first moved to Joburg, like I was doing like a lot of free shoots where people weren't paying me, right? And I would post about it, the BTS and all the different things. And it would lead to either people I've worked with in the past, like giving me more work, or like a sense of, oh, this is what she does.
Okay.
So I often find that it's not all opportunities are going to sit with you getting an email to do them.
Yeah.
So if you are very clear on what you are trying to become, and you know that social media and the social impact of it is a part of it, then your brand messaging needs to match that. But you meet veteran legends in the industry who have no clue what social media is and are still doing well. So that's why I'm saying to each their own, like, what are you trying to use it for?
Yeah.
Because I was going to lead on to that. Let's say for a starting up actor, maybe, would you advise them to build a social media presence?
It would depend on what it's for. So, for instance, I've had or seen actors who do a lot of monologues, and opportunities have come their way, not only because they do monologues, but they follow the right pages. They try and engage and go to certain things where there's casting directors, producers, and people within the industry. They are always trying to hone in on their craft, right? And then I've also seen actors who keep it completely private, like they treat it sacred, going to auditions and different roles. And then when they get that role, that's when they share after it's all concluded. So I'm not going to say because you put on monologues on TikTok or whatever versus someone who doesn't, it doesn't work. That's why you need to ask yourself, what's your strategy? And I think with branding, the most important thing is, what's my role? What's my agent's role, or my booker's role, or my manager's role, or like the team that I'm going to have behind me? What are we all trying to do? Like if you are not trying to every single day when you go on social media, be putting yourself out there, what systems do you have in place to make sure you don't miss out on opportunities?
Okay.
So I think that becomes important. Understanding what your agents are doing, where you are in the conversation in terms of your plan. You know, have you, like a lot of people are signed to agents and they think sometimes, oh, I must go meet with my agent for A, B, and C. But an agent is not a manager. So it starts with already having that conversation to be like, okay, cool. Like, this is what we see for your brand. This is currently what's happening in the industry. This is how we think you can improve yourself. So for instance, with talent, we have Training Hub because we know that in today's time, you do a lot of self-tapes and you don't often get feedback, right? And we often also don't like to cross that line because we're not the casting directors, we're your agents. But Training Hub is a different tool that allows our actors to, on a month-to-month basis, hear feedback from different people or certain agents or like within the agency in terms of how they can improve. So there's always ways in which you can look at your team to see who's doing what and what's my role. And I think once that becomes clear, how you navigate social media or like the different opportunities within the industry becomes easier.
Sure. And that's very interesting that you say that like, I think you, as an artist, you need to know like the different roles, you know, because a lot of artists will be like, I'm moving from this agent to this agent because my agent is not doing this, right? So then how would you say like the artist's role is versus the agent's role or the agency's role? Like, to what extent is the artist's success the agency they're in?
Sure. It's a partnership. That's how I see it. It's an inner ete. It's what we give versus what you give. Because, for example, it helps for us to know our actors' strengths. But if you sign up and maybe never speak to your agency and your CV doesn't have those details, it also does become difficult because then we're just dealing with the CV to put you forward, a CV that doesn't advocate for you. So, for example, the amount of times I always tell people, I'm like, you might think playing basketball is lame and you don't put it on your actor CV, but I will get a brief that's not an open casting, that wants people who are skilled in basketball.
Drag me.
So it's like every time that happens, we should know this. This is why you asked different questions when you're filling in your application form, and all the info forms that are filled in or sent out by your agency are there. But you find some actors think, but this has nothing to do with acting.
Right.
But if the NBA or BAL, I think I've seen the BAL.
Yes.
is looking to shoot a commercial, right? How are we going to know? If they're looking for ambassadors who watch the sport, engage with the sport, how are we going to know?
Exactly.
If that's a conversation that's never happened. So I always say to people, I'm like, having that conversation with your agency is important. Coming in and saying, this is my 5-year plan. This is where I am right now. This is my availability as it stands. And this is what I will do. Like, once I book A, B, and C, put me forward as a Cape Town actor. I'll accommodate myself on flights because I'll have this income. Or I can audition in Durban because I have family there.
Right.
So it's the little conversations that sometimes don't happen, and then people feel frustrated. But if we're not having the conversation, it means we're not on the same page.
There you go.
So I often say to artists and models as well, because I see it, people just want to get signed sometimes. That when you get signed, you're just, now that you're signed, you're waiting on the agency to do the work. But it's a partnership. It takes you showing up to auditions on a day that's 4 degrees. I can't force you. I might have sent you the brief. But if there's certain days where you don't feel like auditioning or don't feel like showing up, that you don't show up, that's also a sacrifice you're making on your career. And also, a lot of the time, people don't share even other things they're doing outside, because you might not always be on screen, but like you guys have proven, this agency and industry has so much happening.
Yes.
So it becomes one of those things where else can I fall into in the times maybe when I'm not on screen?
Yeah.
And all those conversations can't happen if you're basing it on one of the things we always say at the office. I don't know how PG this podcast, but we don't like the word assumption. If you take the first 3 letters
Okay.
of
We
the
know
word
where this is
assumption,
going.
right?
We know
We
this is
always say
going.
take the first 3 letters of that word. It makes it of you and of me if we don't communicate and we assume. That's literally how we say it. So over communicate. You shouldn't feel like you're a nag to your agent for communicating what you want about the dreams and aspirations that you have. And vice versa, they should also be able to give you that feedback whilst you knowing they are not the decision, makers of the industry.
Because then I also want to ask the question now, because you mentioned with modeling the steps you have to take with maybe modeling coach, model agency, and then we also now spoke about talent with acting, content creators. Would you say it's important, like vitally important? I'm asking you personally now. Don't make a political, like a
Personal
you
question.
don't make it like politically correct. Would you say it's important for an actor to be signed to an agency?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And can I tell you what? Personally, I've seen it. Sometimes there are actors, especially once you've become a veteran actor, where they'll think of you as soon as there's something, right? But that doesn't guarantee that you're getting everything within your demographic and what's happening within the country. And when you're not signed, you miss out on that. So I've seen it even with artists who maybe left the industry and came back. In the time that they left, the amount of projects they were getting in comparison to what they get through agencies was completely different.
Right.
It's important.
It is.
Because also, how do casting directors reach you? So it sometimes does happen when actors have like left or like taken a break, where if they knew that the last people this lady was with was Talent ETC, we booked this with them. They reach out to Talent to say, hey, there's a brief. We were thinking of so-and-so. How do we get a hold of them? So like having an agency also makes you credible and easy to reach, for those opportunities.
You think people without maybe agencies are also at the risk of being exploited?
Absolutely.
You see when you were talking about your personal investment as an artist, that 4 degrees day. Yeah.
Especially now, Especially now,
It's winter now, right? And it
Winter.
happens, and it's like maybe that was your next thing.
That's the thing.
But
like
on that day, you're just like, it's too cold.
I think before, like, there are many times, like, agency or agents will send us briefs. And then they'll be like, kindly let me know if you'll attend or not. And I feel so guilty sometimes when I don't let them know.
Let them know.
And sometimes I look at a brief and I'm like, I have to go.
Yeah.
This is me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And like when I don't go and I really genuinely cannot go, I'm just like, what if I was the girl that they were looking for?
Alignment, I think what's meant for you will never miss you. But most importantly, communicate. Because a lot of the time, you communicating could also open up an opportunity to say, oh, she's not available on this day because she's on this podcast. But tomorrow at this time, she can come. Can she still audition? Whereas when you're just like, can't make today, awkward.
Okay.
That's how you miss out on those opportunities. And also then casting directors are requesting you. So that's also important to note. Like, what are you building that credibility where they know if we request Dimpo or Luto, like they'll show up, or is it like touch and go?
Right.
Yes.
Especially if you don't communicate it, because then we
Yeah.
don't know. Are you going? Are
Yeah.
you not? Are you still thinking about it?
Every time I see that accept or decline, I'm just like, okay, where's
Just-
the brief? where's
Fair,
the
fair.
brief?
Yeah,
But
no.
what you're saying is very important. Where you need communication between your agent and
Yeah.
yourself, because you're a partnership at the end of the day. Would you say that it is, I would say, also advised to go to each and every casting, maybe, even though you won't really get, you won't get feedback from a casting director? I feel like that's one of the issues as well when it comes to casting. But would you advise people starting up acting, or maybe if you're even a veteran in acting, to still do auditions?
Auditions are very important.
Regardless
I
if
think
it's
even
4
some of the
degrees.
most seasoned actors in the world will tell you the importance of auditions,
Yeah.
right? So they are important. And then I also think, especially when you're coming up, you learn so much. Because I think anyone will tell you, especially commercial castings, it's an in-out. Like, it's so difficult to sometimes switch into out of the outer body experience into that 2 second of a sip, whatever, right? But it teaches you something, because for long format, you might have a little bit of time, you might be guided, you might do a bit of a table read and all these different things that happen. But for commercials, it's different. It's like a 12-hour day for a 15-second
Right.
shot where we hope your family sees you. And those are the things you also get to learn. Like, how do I interpret this brief? And how do I bring out this character? And I think both commercials and acting have something similar, where it's an opportunity for you to embrace what you are reading as the description of the character, and how you then interpret it. And how are you going to tap into that muscle easy if you go once in 6 months? And then when you don't book it, do you think you'll go in another 6 months?
Yeah, because I was thinking as well, but let's say you get a brief, right? And you're reading this brief and you're thinking to yourself, this does not align with me.
With you or
me as my
your
brand.
skill.
No, just maybe like it doesn't align with me.
Because remember, being a thespian also means that if I'm playing something, it doesn't mean I am that. I'm bringing that character or its essence to existence, but that doesn't mean that's who I am on a day-to-day. And I mean, it's different for everyone. We see it now with all the different choices that you sometimes need to make. Like, will you do intimacy or nudity and stuff like
That's
that?
a big talk,
right?
yeah.
But more than anything, it's also looking, sometimes people judge something because they feel like it's not them, but are you acting because you're trying to play versions of yourself? Or are you acting to challenge the skill and to bring a character's essence into existence?
Which also teaches you about yourself as well as you go.
But what about you as a brand?
What do you mean?
Let's say, okay, people maybe, let me put myself out as an example. Maybe people look at me, they might, okay, a lot of things out there. People look at me and they say, okay, he definitely would not be the face of like Toys R Us or Baby R Us. But let's say I get a commercial brief for like Baby R Us or like Toys R Us.
You must also sometimes ask yourself, why did that commercial brief get to me? Is it a demographic? Is it an energy? Is it an essence?
Right.
You might sometimes get something where you think you can't sell it, but you could. But I do think it's important to understand your brand and the market and the types of ambassadorships, or like, if it's not ambassadorship, maybe characters in commercials you're trying to portray. I think that's okay. Because I've seen it with certain personalities where you know they can't sell you A, B, and C. And they go to the casting and they get proven and time again that they want to see you because it's you. But it doesn't necessarily mean it relates to that audience, because we've seen your day-to-day and what that looks like. So I do think it's important to know your brand and to own it, you know, but also sometimes we limit ourselves. The self-talk that you're having individually might not be what your agent thinks of you or like the casting director thinks of you. Then you limit yourself when you put all these boxes around you. I think there are certain things where I can think about it and I'm like, that's a hard no. Like, that I don't think I would do.
Right.
Same. I think there was a brief like that I got and I was like, okay, no, hard pass.
Yeah.
Definitely hard pass. And that also came with boundaries as an actress.
Yeah.
You know, that I had to tap into, like, I know it's not me, but it's a hard no for me.
But would you say making those hard no's, those hard decisions, that it comes with experience maybe of being in the industry, or maybe just knowing yourself and knowing your brand more enough, and your, I guess, your fundamentals of your, I don't know, maybe integrity. I don't know, your own understanding or your own mantra. You think that is your, I would say, your key to saying a hard no or a hard yes to certain things or certain briefs?
Yeah.
Because like you guys both said, there are things that you guys were like hard no.
I think for me, like some of the things that are hard no would have an impact on Stride. So I've always had a look at that. And as someone who's always wanted to do Miss South Africa, there's certain things where I was like, okay, this, maybe not now. Maybe it's a no now because this is the goal. But in looking at the industry and all the safety precautions that are there, at a later stage, sure. So I think it should be different for everyone. Like for some people, they base it on religion. Some people base it on their family values and like just how they would see themselves being portrayed. And other people are able to just be like, that's not me. That's a character. It's really not that deep.
Really
So I also think your own, that's why I was saying self-talk is important because sometimes our self-talk is not kind.
Yeah.
And when that's already not kind, it can make things feel worse in your head than they actually really are. But you find, and something that I've learned, especially with intimacy, right, is that an IC is also there to protect you. So there's so many stigmas or things you might think in your head, but you've never been on set in that environment. So you actually don't know what it's like. You're basing it on an assumption in terms of how you've consumed stuff. And now you're saying no. So I think things like that become important where sometimes educate yourself and then you'll learn and be like, okay, actually, this is a hard no, I was right.
Cool. So, Ms. Tools, what's next for you? What's next for Stride? What's next for the Boss Babe of Talent ETC?
Sheesh. I think I'm just at a point or age in my life where I don't put pressure. I trust God and the process.
100%.
So I think that's what's happening. Even with Stride, I'm like, this thing was formed before I even knew I was going to live and be a coach and do all these things. And it's moving, you know, on its own. And it's the same with my work as an agent. I think when I think I've reached the ceiling, maybe not. You know, there's more things happening within the industry that we need to add our voices to. So I think as long as I'm still in love with the industry and teaching and all the different elements of myself, I can just trust God and know that He's in control.
100%.
So, in terms of serving, right? You serve in many ways. Serve Stride. You do serve your career. You do serve talent. What does that mean for you? Because we see it in different ways. We see it unfolding in different ways. What does it mean for you?
I think for me, serving is a reflection of how I've been raised. So I'm raised by a single parent who I watch on a day-to-day in the smallest things, serve people, you know. My mom was recently in Johannesburg, and just from how she will interact with my neighbor to the security guard to a random person who's helping us at the tills or at the mall, she serves. And she does it because she always says it's so important to be kind to people because you just don't know what they're going through. And even if people aren't kind to you, that shouldn't limit your kindness. So I think for me, that's something that I've learned, that I've had so many people who have mentored me along the way. Some that I've known who are within my working capacity, someone like Janice, who's my boss, you know, someone like Sis Andiswa, who was my mentor during the Sundowns. And I've had mentors from afar, people whose careers I've just watched. And I think all of them have taught me the importance of sharing knowledge. I think when I first moved to Gauteng, and even in the pageant space, you often think, oh, we're competing. I need to know it all. But you're never going to be Thulani and I'm never going to be you. So really, I'm actually competing against myself. Like, did I show up confidently? Did I do my routines? Was I able to articulate my thoughts and my voice in a manner that serves me? That's who I'm competing with. So then if I'm competing with myself, why can't I share information?
100%.
So for me, serving goes hand in hand with sharing, because we have this thing in South Africa called Ubuntu, but people think it's such a cliche word. It's so overused.
Right.
And Ubuntu is that. It's community. It's that you are a person through others. And I think we need to bring that back. And as this generation, the alpha generation, who's much younger, I'm saying this generation and I'm thinking, am I Gen Z or am I Gen Y? The millennials.
That's my constant day-to-day, like...
Right. But I think we need to fight harder to bring that and serve each other and know that we're not each other's competitors. There's already so much unemployment in our country. There's already a femicide that's happening against women. There's so many things that we're dealing with. And if we're not trying to serve and we're only trying to serve ourselves, it makes us more miserable and backwards. And the world is coming to a place where we need to care. Because if we don't, when it's time for people to care for your nation and something's happening in South Africa, then you're going to expect people to care. But how have we
Yeah.
been serving others in
Exactly.
any way possible? As
Exactly.
simple as sharing a post about a war or whatever it may be. Like, how do you try and serve other people in your day-to-day? It doesn't have to be monetary.
Yeah. Ms. Tools, thank you for...
I like that, Mr.
Thank you so much for sharing knowledge.
Thank you.
We will follow you on Stride.
That's our
Follow your journey with talent all the way through until we see the ultimate boss babe activated. And that's a wrap from all of us here at Seen and Heard. If you haven't liked, commented, subscribed, I think you should do that to keep in the loop. So from our hearts to yours is all love.